Today, I'm going to talk about the 3 bottlenecks that I see agencies and coaching businesses hit in as they try to scale. And these bottlenecks are experienced in a certain order because it also relates to their sales funnel. The first of these bottlenecks is lead generation. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know why this is the first bottleneck. And if this is your bottleneck, nothing else really matters after that point, because if you are running an agency business or a coaching business or a service and you have no leads coming in, it doesn't really matter what happens with the rest of the business because you're not working with anyone yet. You don't need to think about having the most perfect, incredible systems if you aren't bringing anyone into the business. The most minimum thing you need to have in place is at least a landing page that outlines your services, inviting people to a call, or you could have a 2-step classic application funnel where they first have to opt in to see some type of training or for free resource, and then you invite them to book a call. And obviously, if we capture their emails as an opt-in funnel, then we can continue email marketing to them and we can manage all those leads as they come into the CRM. So that's the cleaner approach. But if you have no leads coming into the business, it doesn't really matter what's happening anywhere else in the business process wise. So you need to either have your paid advertising running to bring in those leads, and then you really need to have your funnel dialed in and your messaging dialed in, or you need to be doing something organically. So you need to be posting on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, doing direct outreach, whatever you need to be doing to be bringing eyeballs to the business, that has to be happening. And if you don't have that, lead generation is going to be your first bottleneck. The second bottleneck, now that you have leads coming into the business, you're booking calls, the next bottleneck I've seen consistently is just onboarding and fulfilling all of those clients. And I've seen this a lot with coaching businesses, especially when they run in paid traffic, because they're getting a lot of traffic in at one time. They get a lot of applications, a lot of sales calls. Now the problem is just onboarding all these people. And obviously part of that is generating contracts, making sure they get access to the necessary platforms, making sure that they are getting onboarded they know what's going on, especially with a coaching business or an agency. You obviously need things from the customer, you need to sign contracts, you need to take payments, all of these things. That becomes the next bottleneck. And as part of that is obviously making sure the person actually gets results. It doesn't help to be bringing on tons and tons of customers like you see with a lot of these big coaching businesses, and then you find out a lot of people aren't even getting results. That's not going to help you grow the business over the long run if you have a negative word of mouth, essentially. You want to make sure you're getting people great results, and that obviously brings in further and further customers. So that second bottleneck, as I just mentioned, is things like customer onboarding, managing customer success, which involves obviously having a well set up CRM, a good project management system that you know exactly where people are in regards to the delivery of the service. Hopefully that service is fairly productized, and making sure you have good touching points. So your customer success team are also touching in with the customers to let them know what's going on. So people feel seen, they feel heard, and that often also leads to a great customer experience. And then as part of that, just as a third thing, is offboarding, as well as part of your business. Once you've finished working with these customers, let's say it's a coaching business or once-off service delivery, how are you offboarding them? The way someone comes on, you also want to make sure that they're offboarded in a great way of like, here's your polished product, or you got the result you wanted. Can we grab reviews? Can we grab testimonials, etc.? So I found that is the second bottleneck I've seen with most businesses. The third and final bottleneck I've seen, and one that people don't often think about, is hiring and growing the business, actually scaling out this business and managing the team. Obviously, we spoke about, okay, now you're getting leads, you actually have people come into the business, you're booking sales calls, now you're actually closing people, you need to onboard those people, get them great results. Now the question is, how do you actually scale this? Because obviously scaling a business, you're always going to have to bring in some level of people into it. And obviously that requires hiring. Hiring, from what I've seen, is like its own sales pipeline, but for people that you bring into the business. I've seen people like Alex Hormozi talk about running paid ads to get hires. You have your HR team running outbound campaigns on platforms like LinkedIn, potentially trying to attract people from other businesses because you want to attract the best people. So hiring is its own sales pipeline in itself. And you need to treat it as such, of where people are at, how are they getting educated, are they getting sent certain resources that they need when someone is hired, how are they being onboarded? Because you can hire someone amazing, but if they're just thrown into the business and there's nothing in regards to SOPs, they don't know what they're meant to do in the first couple of weeks, like they don't know who to speak to, everything's a mess, they're probably not going to stay for very long. That also makes a really big impression on the team itself of how they're onboarded and how they're treated as part of that hiring process. So that's an important thing, is the hiring pipeline, making sure you also have a CRM set up for your hiring processes. How are you signing contracts for your hiring? What do they receive after they're hired? Having all that mapped out and also automated if you can. And then dashboarding and reporting. This overlaps a bit with the lead generation and onboarding, but what I've seen with working with several businesses who already were doing multiple six figures a month, they were multiple seven-figure businesses in revenue per year. One thing I learned, which was really interesting, is how important it is to have their numbers dialed in, especially when it comes to paid traffic, because I learned that if you're spending thousands of dollars a day on ads, which is what I've seen, you have to know what is like your cash collected on your sales calls versus your revenue, because you can close, say, a $10,000 client on a package, but if you're only collecting $500 or $1,000 per customer for each sales call on average, you're probably going to run out of money pretty quickly. Your ad spend is going to outpace how much cash you're actually collecting in the same period. So that's when I learned how important dashboarding and reporting is. Knowing, especially around the sales pipeline, knowing the close rates for individual closes, that obviously allows you to introduce some things like, not competition, but people know how they're performing. You can properly measure KPIs and all those type of things. And when you have a lot of moving parts in the business, you need somewhere that you can quickly glimpse at, and you know right away what all those numbers are, how to make smart, strategic decisions, and you're actually basing those decisions on real world numbers, and you're not just thumb sucking that or having to manually, say, generate these reports every couple of days or once a week or once a month, because that's way too slow of a turnaround time to be able to make these growth decisions in these businesses that I've seen. If you want help breaking through these three bottlenecks, that is exactly the type of work that I have been doing as a no-code automation and systems integration expert. So you can find my links in the description. You can book a call in. I'll learn more about you, and I can let you know how I can help you crack through those three bottlenecks so you can happily scale your business.